Hello guys, my name is Danajay and I am from group 327. Today we will discuss about the topic nerve impulse and ionic channels. The nerve impulse. Today we will discuss the fascinating world of the nerve impulse. These electrical signals are the foundation of our brain communicates with our body allowing us to move, feel and perceive the world around us. But how exactly do these impulses work? Let's embark on a scientific journey of understand the generation of nerve impulse, exploring the interplay between physics and biology. The current voltage dance, imagining a tiny gatekeeper control the flow of ions across a wall. That's essentially what happens in a nerve cell membrane. This membrane has a specific electrical property called the current voltage characteristics. It's not a straight line but rather has a unique kick. A consequences of how the membrane's permeability, the sodium and potassium ions depends on the voltage across it. The birthplace of an impulse. The axon. Let's focus on a particular section of a nerve cell called the axon. Here, when the initial voltage change, depolarization occurs. The potassium contains is a very low. The allow us to simplify the picture and considered the ionic current to be the sum of the sodium current and the leak of current. The leak current simply reflects the passive flow of ions due to the sodium current itself is an interesting beat. We can approximate its time dependence with a rectangular well. Imagine a surge of sodium currents for a specific time interval followed by a drop to zero. This surge depends on the voltage across the membrane in a non-linear way, a reflection of the changing sodium contents, molding the membrane's response. Scientists have developed models to capture this complex behavior. One approach involves replacing the experimental curve of sodium currents versus voltage with a series of distance conductance values. This allows us to represent the current voltage relationship with a series of linear segments. With these approximation, we can write down equations describing the membrane's response to the different stimulation. For weak stimuli, the membrane behaves passively, with the voltage change reaching a limit determined by the stimulus strength. When the stimulus is strong enough, the voltage reaches a critical threshold. Here, the magic happens. The S-shape response and the negative differential conductance. As the voltage rises beyond the threshold, a fascinating phenomena occurs. The sodium conductive increases rapidly, exceeding the leak conductance. However, there's a twist. This superconducting state has a negative differential conductance. That means that for a small increase in voltage, there is a large increase in current. The voltage even higher. This rapid voltage rise is reflected in the local response which has the characteristic S-shaped curve. This S-shape signifies the exponential increase in voltage and agrees with experimental observations. For local responses to action potential, the all or non phenomena. If the stimulus is strong enough and persists for a certain time, the voltage keep rising until it reaches a peak value. This peak corresponds to full activation of sodium channels and their subsequent inactivations. As the sodium current falls, the potassium conductance increases, leading to a rapid repolarization of the membrane voltage back to its resting state. This entire sequence of events, the local response, the rapid rise in voltage, and the repolarization, is known as the action potential. Here's a crucial point. The action potential is an all or non phenomenon. Once the threshold is crossed, the response is all out with a fixed peak voltage and the characteristic time courses. The strength of the initial stimulus doesn't influence the action potential itself by whether it gets triggered or not. Ionic channels. The gatekeeper reveals the molds of discussed so far as phenomenal, meaning the describe the behavior without delving into the underlying mechanism. But how do ions actually move across the membrane? The answer lies in the membrane. Experiments have confirmed the existence of these channels. Without them, there would be no current flow even in the presence of permanent ions. These channels are incredibly selective, allowing specific ions to pass through while blocking others. They can be pictured as tiny vectorial enzymes that catalyze ion transports. Their activity regulates by the electrical field across the membrane, the energy source, the sodium pump. This is ion exchange across channels is driving force for the propagation of the nerve impulse. But where does the energy come from? It comes from the sodium pump, another marvel of nature. This pump uses the energy from ATP condensation triphosphate to actively transport sodium ions out of the cell and the potassium ions into the cell, maintaining the necessary concentration gradients that drive the current flow during the action potential. Unveiling the secret technique and discoveries, scientists have employed various techniques to unreveal the mystery of ionic channels.